Hello, friends, and welcome to Brotherly Love Gaming, the show where two brothers talk through the past, present, and future of our lives in gaming. My name is Alex, and joining me, as always, is my brother Spence.
What's up, guys?
So first off, we want to say hello to anybody on the YouTube side who may be joining us for the first time. We posted a Jack and Daxter Collector's Edition unboxing last week that proved to be way more popular than either of us expected it to be. And a couple of people subscribed after watching that video, so welcome. This is one of our more discussion style videos, so we hope that you check it out and stick around. Second note of the day is we're going to be talking a lot about E3 this episode. The whole thing is going to be discussion about the press conferences, the games that we saw that we liked, things that we're interested in the future. But one major caveat is that unfortunately we're not going to be able to throw any footage of the games that we're talking about on top of this because there's been a really major problem this week with people getting their videos taken down for trying to share that stuff. And we're already a smaller channel fighting for views. We can't really afford to have our stuff taken down, willy-nilly like that. Yeah, so it's just going to be straight talk. But, everything is really super out there. And maybe we'll try to link to the major press conferences in the description if you want to be right over look at those as well. So starting off, we'll just give our general impressions of how we felt about the week. Spence, would you like to start off with your feelings about this year's E3?
Yeah. So there were a lot of games that I got really hyped for. So me and you were obviously texting pretty much every time there was a major press conference.
Right, yeah.
And, I probably sent you a dozen texts blowing up your phone, all caps, oh my God, this is crazy. This is so cool.
Right.
Honestly, I think the Square press conference and the Nintendo Direct were my favorites. Microsoft's was really good as well. That one was the first one I watched, and it was really entertaining. But yeah, I think the Nintendo and Square press conferences kind of blew, well, I guess the Nintendo Direct, but those kind of blew everything out of the water for me.
Right.
I thought those were great.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. Those two were my tops as well. I almost don't even want to bother ranking them because they're so close in my mind for different reasons. The Microsoft one actually really impressed me because I was super into it, even though I don't even own an Xbox. And I was really into the fact that they announced I guess we'll go into more detail when we get to that one, but they announced the Game Pass for coming to PC, which I have since put on my computer. And that they hinted at some console stuff. It was a good press conference for them. I think they really needed that this year, especially because the big thing was that Sony didn't even show up this year at all. And going into it, no one was really sure what to expect because of that. And I think you can sort of see that a little bit. Some of the seams of that showed because smaller publishers didn't necessarily have as many places to show off their games as they would have. I think that might be another reason why Microsoft did so well was because, and Nintendo too, both of their conferences were just packed with third-party games in a way that they might not have normally been because Sony wasn't there. Like the Nintendo Direct got to announce that Ni no Kuni, the original one, was getting ported to the Switch, but that game's also getting a PS4 remaster, and you think that that's the kind of thing Sony might have announced if they had a press conference. So I think that Microsoft and Nintendo benefited in ways that maybe Sony hadn't anticipated. I do also think that we saw a little bit of maybe the reason why Sony skipped. So many people were speculating it's because they were they don't have as much to show this year. They're saving all their big stuff for next year when they're going to be gearing up for a new generation. And I think to some extent we saw a little bit of that with some games feeling like they're not coming out for a while. Like Bethesda's conference, they didn't talk about was it Starfield? Is that the name of the game? And the next Elder Scrolls because they're going to be next gen games.
Yeah, the next Elder Scrolls wasn't.
Right. So things like that didn't really. You think that there'd be more huge game announcements coming. It felt a little bit like that stuff might be being saved for the next generation, except for, of course, Nintendo, which cleared out the press conferences by being like, no, we're just going to talk about every big thing we have because, they're on their own cycle. Basically, they're not waiting for the next generation. They're already in their next generation in a sense, So I think that really benefited them.
Yes, for sure. And I think the Switch is going to be around for a long time. Like, I think
Mm-hmm.
they really need, like, we've talked about the Switch so many times, but I think that it'd be very stupid of them to move on very quickly
Right.
when this console in specific, like, there's still people, going out and buying Switches.
Right.
Like, I can't tell you how many times, like, both of like, two of my friends just recently got Switches in the past 6 months, right? I've seen at least 5 to 10 people on social media that I follow, that I'm friends with, or that I'm acquaintances with, that have gotten Switches recently. So it's like there's still a huge lifespan for that
Mm-hmm.
console, which is super awesome to me. And that
Right.
that like you said, it benefited them because they're like, no, we've got to wait for all the big news. Like, we got everything that we have is going right to Twitch.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. They were able to deliver on promised games and also tee up some really huge stuff for the future, which we'll get to, because
Yeah.
they're like, we don't got to wait until next year to talk about, what our next big game is going to be. So I think maybe we should just dive right in and talk about, each press conference kind of in order, depending on how much we have to say about each one of them. So starting off with Microsoft,
Yes.
what do you feel like you want to hit on first here? What was the big stuff that jumped out of that for you?
Halo Infinite.
Halo Infinite, okay.
Oh my God, yes. Well, I mean, there's two major things that really were kind of the highlight of their press conference: the
Mm-hmm.
new console, their next gen console, and Halo Infinite. Um, Now, as much as I want to say Gears of War, I was very disappointed by Gears of War. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that one yet.
Right.
Um, Before I go on to any highlights, because there were quite a few. What do you think about Project Scarlet now that they gave it a name?
I have mixed feelings because you and I have said this before, or I guess I've talked with you about this before. My feeling is the thing is a year and a half away. At this point, I think that most of what they're talking about is plans and intentions, but we're gonna have to wait until next E3 even to find out what is the thing actually going to be able to deliver on. I had the same
Right.
skepticism when Sony did their closed door PS5 demos, when they were showing off to people about how Spider-Man can render New York City so much faster on the PS5 because it uses a solid state drive and all this stuff. It's like, that's great, but let's see what it's going to be able to do when we're closer to having the thing in our hands.
For sure.
Somebody had said, I forget, like, I think it might have been Game Informer, maybe. They had said that apparently, I should have like gone back and like watched this, that like the video they showed for like the Scarlet was sort of beat for beat, like the exact same video, just with new, people and new lines that they did when they were announcing the One X. So they basically sort of did the same kind of like selling points, talking about, hardware and how fast it's going to be and stuff like that.
Right.
So hey, 8K and 120 FPS sounds great. Let's see it.
120 FPS is a big upgrade from 60. Let me tell you, because uh, as I've talked to you about before, like, I used to play League of Legends on, like, well, first it was a laptop which only ran 30 frames per
Mhm.
second, and then I got the computer that I have now. It only ran 60 frames, and then I upgraded my graphics card, and now I can run it at 120. And it's just a huge difference. Like, whether you believe it or not, it's a lot smoother.
Right.
But the one thing that I wanted to kind of talk about, and why I paired Halo Infinite with Project Scarlet, is because in a previous video you and me had talked about, or I don't even know, was it in a video or were we just talking? But the Switch and the kind of release, and having to
Yeah.
have those big titles like Breath of the Wild and Mario Odyssey being guaranteed within the year of the Switch
Right.
coming out.
Right.
They just announced Project Scarlet and said, "Yo, Halo Infinite's coming with this."
Right. It's
Like,
going to be out when it launches. Yeah.
yeah. So that's super cool to me. I think that definitely set them up for success as far as, like, marketing. Um, that Halo Infinite trailer was absolutely insane. I've seen both spectrums, but me and my friends are all really diehard Halo fans, and especially one of them, and he has not shut up about it since that trailer.
Right.
Me and him actually, we were in Discord and we were watching it together, the press conference when Halo came on, and all I heard him, he started screaming. He's like, "Oh my god!" But I'm excited for that game a lot. It looks really good. I don't know about you. I know that you used to play Halo, but this one, I'm really hoping it succeeds and kind of brings Halo back to its glory, because Halo 4 and 5 were not so hot.
Right. Yeah, I like to see some more of it. You know, it looks cool, looks very pretty, and if you're into like the tone of Halo, it looks like they're definitely, you know, back in that same sandbox. I don't want to be like harsh on it or sound unexcited about it just because like there are other trailers later that did the exact same thing, you know, but for a franchise that I like. So I don't want to sound like I'm negative about it. You know, it's just like you said, I haven't really followed the series for the last couple of installments, so it's hard for me to be super excited about it. But like you said, I do think it is the right move for Microsoft to do, saying, hey, day one, when this console launches, you're going to be able to pick up the new Halo with it. You know, that's definitely the right move for them. You know, no matter what else they decide to launch with it, they definitely are doing right by doing that. You know, they know what their fan base is about.
Yeah. A couple other highlights as far as my book goes. Cyberpunk, like I guess it's not really like their showing in that press conference was super cool. That trailer was amazing, and then, you know, out of nowhere Keanu Reeves is in the game, and then he comes out on, and that's already getting memed like across the internet. It's everywhere. But I thought that was really cool, and he handled like all the hagglers that were yelling at him really well. He was like, "You're breathtaking."
Yeah.
But, I'm really excited for that game now. Honestly, like it was kind of under my radar. Like I had known about it and I didn't really care, and now I'm kind of like, this looks cool. I'd like to see some gameplay, but it does look cool. Then there was Outer Worlds, I believe, like you and I had talked about. It kind of looks like they're trying to compete with Borderlands 3. That's the kind of perspective I have on it.
Okay.
And
I feel like it's kind of somewhere in between like a Borderlands and a Fallout.
Yeah, that's what I mean. And then we got Gears of War 5, which I'm a huge fan of Gears. Like, I'm pretty sure I've mentioned that before. Like, I've played all of the Gears. It seems to me like it's going downhill, and this one I was very annoyed with, because now there's like character abilities and just like, I forget what it was called, what mode they released. It just looks so meh.
Right. With that one got Terminator DLC as well, right? That's what they're trying to sell it with.
Yeah, my friends thought it was cool, but I was just like, why do we need Terminator in Gears? Like, that's just dumb to me.
Right.
Because it's
a
not even relevant.
That had Terminator DLC, which I think is just kind of weird.
It's just not relevant. Like, you're fighting a swarm, not an army of robots, you know? Like, it's just weird. But overall, like, their whole press conference was really good, in my opinion. Like, they had some really cool things. They highlighted Game Pass really well. They announced their Ultimate Game Pass, so that way you get Gold Game Pass on Xbox and then Game Pass on PC, which I thought was cool.
Right.
Did I get cut off?
Yeah, I lost your video for a second there.
Yeah, because I'm getting called.
Okay. I'll keep chatting.
I got a message. I'm gonna message person that just called me on Discord.
Okay. Yeah, I'll talk about Game Pass as well, because like I mentioned, I got the version for PC because, again, I did not have an Xbox, but it had some stuff that I was interested in playing. You know, like I actually made a list of every game, but I don't have it up right now. They have like Hollow Knight was immediately available, and I'm like, okay, for $1, you know, I'll play some Hollow Knight. Wargroove is on there, Into the Breach is on there, and where did I think go? And those are like indie games that I'm into, but then they also have bigger games like Metro Exodus is on there. Borderlands 1, maybe all the Borderlands games are on there. They seem to have made like a solid effort to get games onto the service immediately, and they've also promised that new games are going to come to it as they release, which I think is pretty cool, especially again for someone like me that doesn't have an Xbox but has a computer that can run some games but not all games, and not enough games for me to really ever try to invest in keeping up with technology, but for just a couple of bucks at a time I can play some of these games that I'm interested in but don't want to pull the trigger on for the whole game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that was cool that they did that it was available immediately. I got it.
There were, I don't remember what they were, but there were 4 games that they announced that released that day on Game Pass. I'm drawing a blank,
games?
but well, not new games, but they were available to download right away. Like as of that press conference, I forget what they were. But it looked like a solid setup of games, which was cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they also showed some other games that are coming to it, like Ikenfell, I think that's how you pronounce this, coming to it, which is like an indie RPG that I've been following for a while. It was like a Kickstarter, right. I think it was a Kickstarter, like indie RPG that apparently is coming out sooner rather than later because they talked about it on here and said it's coming to Game Pass, and that's pretty cool. If I still have Game Pass at that time, then I'll be able to just play it immediately.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's what's awesome about Game Pass is just like they're continuously updating the library. Like I had told you, they added like Monster Hunter World and all these other things that I started playing. All super cool, like I just think it's really a good idea that they keep updating that library, keep adding games, so that way it keeps the people who are subscribed interested in staying subscribed,
right?
Which is really good in my opinion.
Right. Well, I also think it's good because like I mentioned to you that I also picked up Sony's PlayStation Now this last week because I had a code, and I felt sort of like as if Sony kind of didn't even want me to have it in a weird way, because like it's not really easy to find on the PlayStation Store. It's definitely not easy to find if you're on your PlayStation, if you want to go to it and sign up for it, compared to like PlayStation Plus, which is very prominently shown everywhere for you to sign up for it, and like, yeah, it's a streaming thing, which a lot of people don't necessarily like immediately, but you can download every PS2 and PS4 game that's on the service. So the only ones you have to stream are PS4 are the PS3 games, and they have like 700 games on this thing, like more than I probably will be able to get, more than I would want to play in the full year subscription, and they do add stuff to it continuously, and
right.
There were a couple of games that they, like, I looked at getting this a couple of months ago and didn't do it, and between then and now they've added a couple of games that like would have enticed me to actually get it, but they just didn't seem to tell anybody, so. And when you were telling me about Game Pass originally, I was like, oh, I think Sony has something similar, but again, like they don't really advertise it well. They don't seem to want people to have it. And I don't really get, compared to how aggressive Microsoft is being about it,
Oh, dude, Game Pass is all over the homepage of Xbox.
Yeah.
Like it's when you go to the home screen, it's very different to the PS4, obviously, but you get like free with gold, you get like what's going on in the community, mm-hmm. and then it's like Game Pass, sign up now, or like this is what's new, and it's really they want you to be involved with it because
right.
Even if it is like a money thing for them, a lot of the people that do work for Microsoft and are a part of that are like, we just want people to be able to play games they want,
mm-hmm.
So it makes it very accessible because like there are plenty of games that I wanted to play that were on Game Pass that I would never have gone out and just bought just to play it. It's like, oh well, I kind of want to play it, but I don't want to spend $60 on it.
Right.
Or even like $20, like with Rocket League. I play Rocket League a lot on my Xbox, but I would have never spent $20 on it.
Right.
So,
well, that's my case with like some of the games that I mentioned just now, like Wargroove and Into the Breach. They're these sort of big strategy games. Just sort of picking on those for a minute. they're available on Switch, and I really want them on Switch, but they're both like $20 games. And I'm like, do I really want it right now? You know what I mean? But they're in that sort of weird space where it's like it's not cheap enough to just be like whatever, who cares? It's $10 or less, but they're not, like big enough, franchise or interesting new IP that I really want to get invested in for me to want to spend the money on it. But when I can throw down $1 or $5 and I can try those games in addition to trying all these other games, now I'm like, I'm gonna like literally this is probably what I'm gonna end up doing. I'm gonna try those games, and if I like them, I will end up buying them for my Switch because that's the console I prefer, But
Right.
like it's a win-win for Xbox and Microsoft because I'm paying them basically to be able to try out games that I want on a different platform, so everybody wins. And even in the case of me trying to do something like that with Sony and their PS Now service, I just feel like they didn't really want me to have it. I don't know if they're just going to be trying something different in the future, but it feels like they really, because they even have a Windows app that you can use to stream those same games to your laptop. I haven't tried it yet. I don't know how it runs. Maybe it's garbage, but I didn't find that out until like one of my games was loading. I was trying to load up, I think it was Mega Man 9, and just on the loading screen, it was like, get the Windows app and stream this game to your PC. And I'm like, why wouldn't you have told me that when I signed up that was an option? I don't know why they have this service that they seem to not care about, not marketing, and they're not explaining it. They're not running promotions on it. I mean, they have, like I said, they had a promotion this week for it, but
I didn't even know it was a thing until you told me about it. So
yeah. I had for why, because I had heard about it and had forgotten about it until you mentioned that Game Pass was a thing, and I was like, yeah, I think that Sony has a version of this, and it's just different. I mean, some of the games are even the same games you can get on Game Pass, but
right.
they just don't want you to have it, I guess. So basically, moral of the story is, since we're trying to talk about E3 and the Game Pass thing, is that Microsoft is doing a very good job getting Game Pass out there into people's hands in ways that actually matters, and Sony can need to learn a thing from him. Closing thoughts on Microsoft. They
well done.
They also showed off a little bit more of the Dragon Ball Z RPG, which is officially called Dragon Ball Z Kakarot.
Yes, I forgot about that. Yes, that looked so good.
That looks cool. What was the other thing? The new From Software game with George R.R. Martin somehow involved, called Elden Ring, was also officially announced. Cool concept trailer.
And said that it looks cool.
Yeah, I'm gonna need to see more of it though to know exactly what. I mean, like I am interested because of the people involved, but I don't know what the game is yet. So the other thing
was Blood Edge or something in the Microsoft one as well.
Edge, the Ninja Theory.
Yeah. Bleeding Edge.
Yeah,
I think so. Yeah, that looked good as well. I like that one too.
Yeah.
They showed off a lot of it. It looked pretty cool.
Yeah, if you're into that type of game. And then one other thing, maybe this probably is gonna be the last one for Microsoft. I texted you at the beginning of the conference when Phil Spencer came out, and he was wearing a Psychonauts shirt, and I was like, he's wearing a Psychonauts shirt. Psychonauts 2 is going to be brought up, and then it turned out that not only was Psychonauts 2 going to be brought up, but they actually bought Double Fine, the studio making Psychonauts 2, which is cool, weird. I'm still not totally sure how I feel about it. I know that, as long as their games are going to come to Game Pass PC, I guess it's fine. But Psychonauts 2 at least is still going to release on the PS4 where I wanted to play it originally, so that'll be fine for me. Double Fine makes cool games, so as long as Microsoft keeps letting them make cool games, I'll still be showing up for them. But
I feel like
be multi-platform for the meantime, so we'll see what happens.
All right. I feel like what's his name that was leading the Psychonauts presentation was like he sounded like, yeah, he said he was super excited, and he also said like that. I think he said this, that he has like a lot more freedom now as far as what he's doing, which is super cool because that means they can continue to do those kind of cool and wonky games,
Right, yeah, and hopefully that happens because like Double Fine has got a really fascinating history, like his Tim Schafer was originally at LucasArts. He was the designer of I don't want to misspeak here. I think he did one of the Monkey Island games, I think is where he started. But then he did like Full Throttle and Grim Fandango, and then broke off from them and made his own studio where he did the first Psychonauts, and then done some other things since then. But like in the last couple of years, they've been an indie studio that has had to kickstart some of their games. Like they kickstarted Broken Age. Psychonauts 2 might have started as a Kickstarter. I'm not 100% sure. But then they've had like a lot of trouble with, I think Starbreeze was the name of the publisher that was supposed to publish Psychonauts 2. They went bankrupt earlier this year. Psychonauts 2 was sort of in this weird state where Tim Schafer was saying, we'll still get it out because people want it. We'll figure something out. So they've got a just really crazy history. And when he says something like, I'm excited that I don't have to travel all around the world and convince people to give me money anymore, like that to me is like coming from, sounds like he's being sincere and as if he really honestly believes this is the right solution and we're going to be able to continue making the games we want to make, So
yeah.
So that could be cool. That could be cool.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be all for Microsoft.
I agree, because honestly, there's nothing other, like I don't have any other thoughts. Like I wish Dragon Ball Kakarot had a little bit more to it, but we'll get more in the future.
Yeah, I mean, generally that's my feeling about a lot of this stuff, was that I wish there was just a little bit more, that there were some more gameplay features of some of these trailers and things, but overall it was a good show. It was a fun show.
Yes.
Now compare that to Bethesda, which was my least favorite experience of the whole thing, and we'll probably breeze through this.
We're gonna gloss over this. The only good part about that whole presentation was the Ghostwire presenter, the woman that was presenting that. She was very kind-hearted, entertaining. She was very excited about the game and made me interested in the game just by listening to her talk. So
right.
That was the only standout thing that I could remember other than Doom Eternal, because they really just slammed on Doom Eternal most of it from what I remember watching. And then those are like the only two memorable things.
Yeah, so that was her name's Ikumi Nakamura from Tango Gameworks, the studio run by Shinji Mikami, the creator of Resident Evil. And yeah, I mean, her game looks creepy and interesting if you're into that kind of game. I'm not typically into that kind of game, but she definitely like made me interested in it because, like I said, just interesting person to see on stage. Especially at a press conference that I was not enjoying, Yeah. So yeah, I mean, their whole thing was weird. They started off sort of with Todd Howard doing this sort of half-baked apology, not apology for Fallout 76 being such a disaster, but then also saying like, thank you to the players who stuck with us, which is like a weird connotation of him saying thank you to everybody who still paid for this game somehow, and then they introduced a battle royale mode, which I honestly don't know who that's for, and said that they're bringing NPCs to a Fallout game. Just, whoa, wild thought. You can put NPCs in a Fallout game. And then just mobile game after mobile game. Just like,
I just don't understand why, like, a lot of these games are just like, my game sucks, let me just put the battle royale band-aid on top and now it's great. Like, no, that's not how it works. First of all, battle royale is already super oversaturated. I've ranted about this in previous videos. I'm over them. I'm over them at this point. The only game that I was excited for that was battle royale was Apex Legends. I've already died off of that like long ago. Right. They are coming out with season 2, so I might pick it up again for that, but that's about it. Like, there's no other reason that I want to see another battle royale ever again. Just stop at least for a while until you can come up with an original idea.
Right.
Other than that, it's, I agree with everything you said. I thought Bethesda just wasn't entertaining. Doom Eternal looked good, but I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of Doom. I don't even think I've ever played one of them. But Ghostwire, that was the highlight for me. So
definitely one interesting thing coming out.
That's it. That's all our thoughts on Bethesda. Because we don't want to bash on them the whole time.
Right, and it did seem like they also mentioned some new stuff for Elder Scrolls Online, which I talked to people that play that game and are really into it. Good for them, but rest of Bethesda is not really anything to
just give us the next Elder Scrolls game. I don't care about Elder Scrolls Online.
Yeah, well, and they had, even coming into the press conference, it almost makes you wonder why they bothered to have one at all. If it was just going to be like half of it being apology for Fallout 76, then a bunch of mobile games, and then Doom Eternal. If they had said from the outset, like they said before the thing even happened, we're not showing Elder Scrolls, we're not showing Starfield. Don't ask about it. So, yeah, and then the next Wolfenstein game's coming out in like a month, and that looks pretty cool. But I haven't played any of the Wolfenstein games, so
that one did. It's called Youngblood, right?
Yeah.
That I will give them credit for, because that one. I mean, there's a lot of Wolfenstein fans out there. I've never played one. I have access to one through, I think, Game Pass. I think there's one on there.
Yeah. New processes on there.
So I might play that one just to try it out, but other than that, I've never really gotten into Wolfenstein. Right. So, if you're into it, good for you. I mean, it does look cool. So,
right, and also that's the thing we already knew was coming. Same with Doom Eternal. We already knew it was coming. They showed off some new stuff, which hyped you up if you're for it. But anyway, let's move on. I don't want to keep talking about it. I'm going to make a before we get to Ubisoft, I want to make a slight detour into limited run games, which is something that I'm just going to talk about for a minute here because I know you're not really following them.
I get their Twitch notifications all the time from our Twitch channel.
But that's about it. Because I subbed to them on that one.
It's on my phone all the time. It's like limited run games is live, and I'm like, Jesus, man.
Their live stream's pretty good. Check it out. They stream every weekday at 5. Yeah, so they had a press conference this year as well, which is like a pre-recorded thing that they did. Kind of like a sort of funny thing. But so limited run games, if you don't know, their whole thing is that they publish physical versions of digital only games, and they have since tweaked that mission a little bit to release like new versions of like older games. So that's where the Jak and Daxter collector's edition came from, so it was inspired by the PS2 original. There is a digital version of Jak and Daxter on the PS4, so they're like, hey, let's make a physical version of this so that fans of the original series can have that. And they had their own press conference where they announced like 50-ish games, and I'm not going to go through all of them. You can check it out on their website, limitedrungames.com, for the whole list. But the cool thing that I want to talk about is how they somehow miraculously managed to make a deal with LucasArts and Disney. Actually, they've explicitly said Disney had to get in on this deal to publish a bunch of LucasArts games, republish, I guess, technically, a bunch of LucasArts games, collector's editions. So, like Star Wars Bounty Hunter, which is a very popular PS2 game, is going to get a PS4 release. The one that I'm very excited for, Star Wars Episode 1 Racer, they are going to reprint an N64 cartridge with the game on it, and a special edition box set of some kind is going to come along with it. They're going to do...
Release it for Switch.
I mean, that would be very brave, but we'll see what happens. They're also doing like a new NES version of the original Star Wars game. The Jedi Knight games are getting brand new PC releases. They've also said the Monkey Island games are going to get special edition PC releases. So that's the kind of thing, like if you had told me the day before, hey, this is what they're going to announce, I would have been like, bullshit, no way. And I'm sitting there like, I'm not even interested in most of these games. You know what I mean? Like I played actually because Bounty Hunter is the first one that's coming out on, I don't know, next week, 2 weeks from now. And I actually like played some of that game yesterday to see like, do I still like this game? Do I want to get that? And like, unless the PS4 version has drastically changed some things, like I don't think it's a good game anymore. It's just way too outdated. And I don't want to have that necessarily on my shelf. But like I will 100% be picking up the N64 Racer set, depending on what it has.
Pod Racer.
Because that was a game that we played the hell out of as kids,
Oh yeah, 100%.
So, so that's pretty cool. The other thing that they're doing is they have, I think, like 11 or 12 PS Vita games coming out between now and the end of the year. They're, to my knowledge, the only North American publisher still releasing Vita games right now, because production of Vita cartridges ended at the end of last year or earlier this year, something like that. So if you are interested in Vita games and still want to pick some up, they're kind of the only place that you can get them. So go check them out. And that's really all I got to say about that. Limited run games. Cool. All right, Ubisoft. This was not a bad
disclaimer.
What's that?
Disclaimer, I didn't watch this one.
Okay, you didn't miss much.
I don't yeah, you told me that I didn't miss much, and that basically all you told me was that they released a Ubisoft subscription service to play their games, but it's not.
I'd actually forgotten about that.
Deal from me.
I had forgotten about that one. Where even is the details on that one? Yeah. So Uplay Plus, it's $15 a month. You get access to a library of 100 Ubisoft games. It's launching on September 3rd. So, I mean, I'd like to see what the 100 games are. I don't think with Game Pass,
it's gonna be like Assassin's Creed and stuff.
Yeah, I don't think I like any Ubisoft game enough to do that personally. Excuse me. If you're into, their Tom Clancy universe, basically, if you're into the Assassin's Creed games, maybe it's worth it for you. But I haven't played an Assassin's Creed game since the first one. But yeah, I mean, so compared to Bethesda, Ubisoft's conference wasn't bad. Like, it wasn't like they announced anything really disappointing or frustrating or anything like that. It was just very specifically tailored towards, their sort of already established Ubisoft audience. If you're a fan of Watch Dogs, and maybe this would have been bigger if Watch Dogs Legion hadn't leaked like the week beforehand. So Watch Dogs Legion was like the biggest part of their show, where they really got into some details on that. And props to them, they actually discussed like gameplay stuff in it. It wasn't just cinematic trailer after trailer, which was, very uncommon compared to everybody else. They talked about the new Rainbow Six game. They talked about the next Ghost Recon game, which they announced a couple weeks ago officially. Adventure Time characters are coming to Brawlhalla. That's pretty cool for us. We can maybe play.
Yeah, that's cool.
There's a new like quest creation mode in Assassin's Creed Odyssey, which I still want to actually play that one because I've heard it's really good. And
yeah, that's about the only one that I have interest in playing.
Right. Yeah, that's kind of it. I mean, they showed a trailer for this game called Gods and Monsters, which is made by the Assassin's Creed Odyssey team that pretty much everybody is saying like kind of looks and feels like a Breath of the Wild kind of game. The trailer that they showed, though, was only a cinematic concept trailer, so again, like, I'm not really super into that kind of stuff. Show me what the game is going to play like. Otherwise, I'm not into it yet, So I think it's
cool.
I will say a little bit there. I think it's cool that they're making that kind of game, that Ubisoft is letting that team make a smaller kind of game. It's only been a year, not even a year since Odyssey came out, and they're already making like this other side game. So it's cool that exists at all, but I'd like to see what it is.
Yeah.
So
that's all I have. I don't.
Yeah.
In general, I don't really care about. Like, I stopped caring about Assassin's Creed after 3. So, like,
I've heard the last
I never
two
played
really
Black Flag. Yeah, that's.
But also very different from previous Assassin's Creeds. They've made it more. I mean, Odyssey is just a straight up RPG from what I understand. It's like The Witcher 3 basically, but as Assassin's Creed. So
right.
Yeah, if you're into it, you're into it, and you probably don't need me to talk about it. Hey everybody, thanks for watching this clip of the Brotherly Love Gaming podcast. You can find more clips here on YouTube, or check out the full audio podcast on Apple Podcasts. The audio version has some exclusive talk in it, so it's definitely worth your time. While I have you here, don't forget to like and subscribe for more gaming videos from Brotherly Love Gaming.